We are starting with the audio test, Samsung Galaxy A56 and S24 Fan Edition. Battle of the mid-range versus entry-level flagship. We have 50 megapixel sensor, 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and 10 megapixel sensor on Galaxy S24 FE. And we have 50 megapixel main, 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and 5 megapixel macro on Samsung Galaxy A56. I thought it's already springtime, but we went back on Ice Age. You can see that there's snow everywhere. I think that's it for the audio test. Let the battle begin. Let's begin with 1x, and I should probably compare Galaxy A56 to an iPhone. I feel like the contrast and the warmer skin tone definitely resemble the flagship Apple iPhones. While Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition is more like S25-like images, it's natural looking, we got neutral tone, and the colors are a bit muted but brighter. On 2x, definitely we got a close call on both phones. Again, warmer skin tone and livelier on Galaxy A56, while we have better exposed and cleaner look on S24 FE. On this outdoor shot, this is a perfect example of how the mid-range crushes the blacks. Looking at my jacket and better exposed on S24 FE, both looks really good, but this is a matter of personal choice. Now I show up. Also, I like the edge detection on both phones. They're spot on. Now on portrait zoom, this is where flagship S24 FE wins the battle. Because we have 3x while we only have 2 focal lengths on Galaxy A56, we have to remind ourselves that A56 is still a mid-range phone. Obviously, because 3x is punched in, you have better background blur on Galaxy S24 FE. And for whatever reason on selfie, I think Samsung provided the flagship type sensor on Galaxy A56. It's even better than Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. It is sharper, brighter, and has more details. Galaxy A56 is a solid overall portrait mode performer. Now we're doing the video quality test, starting with the selfie video recording 4K 30 FPS. The difference here is we have UHD 60 FPS on Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, only 30 FPS on Galaxy A56. In terms of resolution, you have 12 megapixel on Galaxy A56, while only 10 megapixel on Samsung S24 Fan Edition. In terms of video quality, I'm surprised with the selfie video recording or the selfie sensor of A56, even comparing it with S24 FE. So you have a lighter skin on S24 FE and better contrast on Galaxy A56. Look at my shirt or jacket. It's darker on A56. It's nicer as well in terms of skin tone. Both of them are detailed, but I like the details on A56. So even though it's just a mid-range phone, I'm really surprised with the updates on the selfie camera on A56. Now let's switch to the rear cameras. Now we're testing the ultra-wide lens in 4K 30 FPS. Again, you can shoot UHD 60 FPS on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. It has a flagship processor, Exynos 2400 versus 1580 of A56. So I think in terms of video processing, S24 FE is more powerful than A56. I think that's it for the ultra-wide. Now let's check the main sensor. Now we're testing the main sensor. So this is a 50 megapixel sensor on both phones. In terms of sensor size, 0.01 difference, 1/1.56 versus 1/1.57 in favor of S24 Fan Edition. I think the only difference here is the dual phase detection autofocus on the flagship S24 FE. Later we will test the stabilization, the focus, outdoors. Also the difference on the main sensor, you can shoot 8K video recording on S24 Fan Edition. I think it's easier to remember. Galaxy A56 can only shoot 4K 30 FPS on all sensors. I think that's it for the main sensor. Now let's check the zoom. And lastly, the 3x optical zoom on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. 10 megapixel, 67mm field of view, while we're only cropping in on Galaxy A56 using the main sensor. So I think in terms of white balance, there's a difference. You have a warmer Galaxy A56 and natural looking, brighter S24 Fan Edition. I think you will see better video quality on S24 FE, but let me know your thoughts. From the selfie video recording, main sensor, ultra wide, and even the zoom, which phone do you think is better? On our image quality test, it's crazy to think that the new mid-range phones today performs like flagship phones. Galaxy A56 has good colors. On some shots like indoors, you would see that the Samsung mid-range outperforms S24 FE, although one could argue that S24 Fan Edition is natural looking, but I like the brightness and colors on the mid-range A56. I think these coloring pens are the perfect example for image quality. We have a warmer and more vivid colors on A56, while we have a cleaner and natural looking S24 FE. On some outdoor shots, you will hardly notice the difference, but if you have proper lighting and colorful images, the colors are night and day. We have ultra-wide main sensor on both phones. Galaxy S24 FE has 3 times optical zoom and can go as far as 30 times, but we have a dedicated macro sensor on A56, although the telephoto of S24 FE might be better. And on slow motion, the biggest difference here is the 4K 120 FPS of the flagship S24 FE. We only have full HD on A56. Let's start with the video outdoors with the portrait video on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition UHD 30 FPS. Sadly, there's no portrait video on the mid-range Galaxy A56. Now we're testing the video quality outdoors and stabilization, starting with the selfie video recording. Again, UHD 30 FPS. We also have UHD 60 FPS on S24 Fan Edition, but we're using the 30 FPS. We're also using the internal microphones of both phones, so you will hear audio differences. We're not using an external microphone for this test. Looking at the colors on the buildings and the sky, it's a little bit cloudy today. Warmer on Samsung Galaxy A56, I noticed. Let's check video stabilization. Now let's check the rear cameras. Now this is the rear camera test. Again, outdoors, using the ultra-wide lens in UHD or 4K 30 FPS. We can shoot 8K video recording on S24 Fan Edition. We'll test it later. We also have UHD 60 FPS on the flagship FE, but we can only shoot 4K 30 FPS on A56. We're also testing the internal audio of both phones. So let's check the video stabilization. Look at the details. Which phone is better? Now we're switching to the main sensor, both 50 megapixel sensor. I like the contrast and colors on S24 Fan Edition, but in terms of color profile, they're both the same. Same 50 megapixel sensor, brighter on S24 Fan Edition. And in terms of details, I think they're almost the same as well. Again, checking the video stabilization. We also have 3 times optical zoom on Galaxy S24 Fan Edition, and we can only do digital zoom on A56. So this is what it looks like. I like the details on Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. Obviously, we're just cropping in on the mid-range competition. And going to the 4D zoom, we got 12x on S24 FE and 10x on A56. Again, switching back to the ultra-wide, which phone do you think is better? On night shots, both phones are really good. I think this is where the natural looking tone of S24 FE makes sense. You got a cleaner look on the flagship S24, but a little bit of sepia looking A56. I like the contrast and darker look on S24 FE. We got a purplish or pinkish look on A56. Again, this will be a matter of personal choice, but I like the sharpness and details on the flagship S24 FE. And on pitch black condition, I think the biggest difference here is the white balance. S24 FE is corrected, while we have a noisier and darker A56. Also, the autofocus is impeccable on S24 FE. Here, I will show you the ultra-wide main sensor and the zoom. Let's start this low-lit video test using the selfie camera in UHD 30 FPS. We can actually do UHD 60 FPS on Galaxy S24 Fan Edition, but it's a little bit darker, so it's not apple-to-apple comparison. So we just do the 30 FPS for you to see the difference. We have 10-bit HDR on Samsung Galaxy A56, and we have gyro EIS, advertised gyro EIS on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. So those are the difference on the camera technology of each of the phones. Now let's check the rear cameras. Now we're testing the ultra-wide lens of both phones. So we have 12 megapixel sensors on each of the phones. The difference is the sensor size. We have 1/3 on Samsung Galaxy A56 and 1/3.06 on S24 Fan Edition, a little bit bigger on S24 FE. In terms of field of view, we have 0.5 on Galaxy A56 and 0.6 on S24 FE. So I would think that A56 is a little bit wider than the competition. I think that's it for the ultra-wide lens. Now let's check the main sensor. Now we're testing the main sensor. So same 50 megapixel sensor. So I think they have the same resolution, so same details on my face. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. It's f1.8 for both phones. The only difference is the sensor size, 1/1.56 on A56 and 1/1.57 on S24 FE. 0.01 bigger on A56. I think they're almost the same. We are shooting in UHD 30 FPS again on both phones. I think that's it for the main sensor. Now let's check the zoom. And lastly, we're testing the zoom quality of both phones. We have a 3x optical zoom, 10 megapixel sensor on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. And we're just cropping in on the 50 megapixel main sensor on Galaxy A56. In terms of video quality, I know that A56 is a little bit of ghosting if I move around, while you have better quality on Samsung Galaxy S24 FE. This is a dedicated telephoto zoom. I think that's it for the low-lit video recording test. Now let's check the video resolution. Now this is the video resolution test. So we have Galaxy A56 in 4K 30 FPS. This is the highest resolution and frame rate on the mid-range Samsung. And we have 8K 30 FPS video recording on Samsung Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. This is a flagship phone. So in terms of price to performance ratio, which phone is better, the Flagship FE or Galaxy A56? I think that's it for a camera comparison video between S24 FE and Galaxy A56. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.